We finally got the bracket revealed for DCKO, so we know what heroes will be fighting who in the first round of KO, and that's what I'm going to be talking about mainly today. I'm going to be going over the bracket, who I think should win and who I think they're going to have win, and on top of that, I'll also be talking about the new details we got, because we got a ton of new DC news for KO, and if you don't know what KO is, don't worry, I'm going to be going over it. So, let's get into it. DCKO is DC's big event for the year. It's going to be a battle royale between a bunch of different DC heroes and a few villains. They're going to have to fight each other in a tournament to accrue enough Omega energy to be able to take on Darkseid, because Darkseid's the King Omega. Through everything that happened with All In, where he committed suicide via Justice League and then became the absolute universe, he's now got enough Omega energy where he's the King Omega, and the Justice League can't just take him down the normal way, so they have to accrue Omega energy to become a celestial being themselves, one of them, to be able to match Darkseid's Omega energy and fight him. It sounds crazy, it sounds insane, but it also sounds kind of fun. And the only way to do this is to fight each other in a tournament. And it turns out there can't be any mercy, because that's something that Scott Snyder talked about. Is he says that the only way to become worthy is to defeat other champions, to take down all the other heroes, anyone that's in this competition, and to do it in a way that shows no compassion, no mercy. Because if you try to be soft, it won't create enough Omega energy, and you won't be worthy. So it's a big fight. And I'll read the synopsis I saw real quick here for the first issue, which is: the Heart of Apocalypse has transformed Earth into a hellscape in preparation for the return of Darkseid. The end of the DC Universe is here. The Justice League's only chance to beat Darkseid is to enter a deadly tournament, an epic and over-the-top battle royale that will surprise you. The world's greatest heroes fight to become the champion to enter the ring against Darkseid. But there's a catch. The closer you get to the Heart of Apocalypse, the more it corrupts you, changes you into something dangerous. Which DC character has what it takes to make it to the end? Who is willing to do what it takes to win it all, even if it means taking down their friends and family? Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson have made it clear that this is a Superman story. Scott Snyder even said, as you get deeper in, you'll see it's a personal Superman story about what I think about Superman and why he's such a great character. So if you read between the lines here and you see that it's a Superman story, but in order to win, you have to be the complete opposite of Superman, essentially, by fighting all your friends and having no mercy and becoming more like Darkseid. To me, it sounds like, I've been saying this, I've talked about before, that I think Superman might throw one of his fights. I think Superman might be in it first, then realize about how the Heart of Apocalypse is corrupting you and these bad things you have to do, and it's not worth it, and this isn't the way to defeat Darkseid. I think he might throw one of his fights, lose on purpose, and then figure out an outside way of how to beat Darkseid. That's my guess, because this doesn't sound very Superman to me. I don't think he's gonna go and be like, yeah, I'm gonna have no mercy and beat up all my friends just to defeat Darkseid and be corrupted and become this horrible thing. That doesn't sound like Superman to me. Honestly, it sounds kind of like Batman, because they're talking about who will take down their friends and family. And it's this sounds very much like Batman, Tower of Babel and all that. It sounds very much like Batman, but also Batman. If you're actually looking at this tournament, it's damn, there's so many people that can beat Batman in here. But also, he's Batman, and Scott Snyder's writing it, so Batman could beat anyone. But we're going to get into the gauntlet, into the tournament in a second, and go through the matchups. Snyder has said that each person in the tournament can bring in some type of weapon or some item in with them. And this could get a little confusing, because what really counts as a weapon? Does Batman get a single Batarang, or does he get to bring his entire utility belt? Or does he get his utility belt plus some special weapon? Does Star Sapphire's in here? Does her ring count as one item, or does her ring, that's hers, so does she just actually get an additional item? Hawkman, they talked about Hawkman's mace. It's Hawkman without his mace, that's a part of him. That's a part of him as a hero. That should count, and he should get an additional item to bring in. So it's what counts? I don't know. They haven't been super clear on that. All we know, though, is Superman is bringing in Knuckles with many suns on them. So, they make him even more powerful because they'll have suns. And it looks pretty cool. And then Lobo is using the same Venom Bane uses, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because I don't know if that would really work on Lobo's physiology, and Lobo's already super strong and everything, so I don't know, maybe it just can enhance him even more, but that seems kind of stupid. All the things Lobo could bring, would he bring his cycle, you think, if that would count as an item he could bring? Instead, he brings Venom? That just feels such a weird thing for him to bring. But again, it's just what counts as what? Like I don't know. Like Connor Hawk's gonna be in here. Do his bow and arrows count as a weapon that like, oh, that's your one thing you get to bring in? Or is it no, you're Connor Hawk, you use a bow and arrow, so you also get an additional thing. It's like I don't know. I don't know what counts and what doesn't. But anyways, now let's get into the bracket. We're going to go round by round and say who I think should win and who I think they're going to have win. All right, so the first round is Superman versus Giganta. I'm going to go, I think Superman should win, and I think they're going to have Superman win. There's nothing really Giganta offers. I doubt she's going to be like, my item is Kryptonite, because that's only, although she's on the same side of the bracket as Power Girl and Supergirl, so if you take Kryptonite, that could be a pretty good item to have, but I don't know. I don't think that's she's gonna do much. So I would say Superman for both. Captain Atom versus Power Girl. This is a tough one. I would say Captain Atom would probably win this fight, but as far as who's going to win it, I feel like they're gonna have Power Girl win it. DC kind of stays disrespecting Captain Atom, so I don't see him winning that. But I personally, if I was writing, I think Captain Atom should win it. Guy Gardner versus Firestorm. I think Guy for both. I think Guy would beat Firestorm, although that could be an interesting fight, but I also think they're going to have him beat him as well. Jay Garrick versus Cheetah, same thing, where I think Jay Garrick easily takes this, and I'll also, such a cool pick to have Jay Garrick in a DC fighting tournament. I think that's so cool. I love that they chose him instead of Wally or Barry. Choosing Jay is such an awesome pick. I love that. He's the guy to pick for a fighting tournament. That's cool. And I think they're going to have Jay Garrick win as well, because I feel like Cheetah's just not as interesting in the tournament. Like, you choose Jay Garrick, you don't want him to go out in the first round. Aquaman versus King Shark. Aquaman easy. I think this is one of the easier fights. I think Aquaman has this all day. There's nothing King Shark offers him, and I don't think Scott Snyder's going to have King Shark win. Next, we got Connor Hawk versus Hawkman. Two Hawks. This is easy for Hawkman. I love Connor Hawk. He's one of the best fighters in the DC universe, but there's not much martial arts can do against the guy with a mace that's got all the abilities Hawkman has, that can fly, I don't think there's a whole lot that, his arrows or him knowing Kung Fu can do against Hawkman, in my opinion. But this is one of those sneaky ones where I feel like Scott Snyder could potentially have Connor Hawk win. He also did say that Hawkman, we're all Hawkman fans here in a AMA he did recently. But also, I could see, because they talked about how the DC weapons are going to play a big part in KO, I could see them having Connor Hawk win and taking Hawkman's mace in the next round. I feel like that could be a part of it. Like, you beat someone, you get to take their item into the next round. I could see that. So personally, I would have Hawkman win, but I'm leaning towards, I think Scott Snyder's going to have Connor Hawk win. Lex Luthor versus Black Lightning. I think Lex takes this. I think this is probably a pretty easy fight for Lex, to be honest. I mean, Lex goes against Superman all the time. He's the smartest guy in the DC universe. Black Lightning's cool and all, but I think Lex has got this. I think this is a pretty easy fight for Lex. And I don't know. I could see Scott Snyder having Black Lightning win it, though, but I think he's going to have Lex win it. Extragan versus Supergirl. I mean, Extragan, he's a demon, so that helps, but there's magic involved and everything, so he could do some damage to Supergirl, but I think they're going to have Supergirl win. I don't see them having Supergirl lose in the first round. And as far as who I would have win, I think Supergirl would still probably beat Extragan. Extragan's a lot of fun, though. Wonder Woman versus Starro. I think, the thing is, I thought it was Jarro at first, because Scott Snyder loves Jarro, but it's Starro, and it's like, Starro versus a single hero, that could be hard, but I think Wonder Woman would take it, and I would 100% know Scott Snyder's going to have Wonder Woman win. You're not going to have Wonder Woman lose in the second round. That is not going to happen. Or, in the first round, they're not going to have Wonder Woman lose. So, I think that's one of the easiest ones to predict, is like the Trinity. The Trinity aren't going to lose in the first round. They're not going to have Superman lose, they're not going to have Wonder Woman lose, they're not going to have Batman lose. That's super easy to predict. Lobo versus Plastic Man is one of the most fun matchups out here. This is super fun. And I don't know who wins this, because both these guys, it's like you want them both to go farther in the tournament because they're both so much fun. If you look at this, because the next whoever wins this would fight Wonder Woman, because obviously Wonder Woman was being Starro. Lobo versus Wonder Woman is a lot of fun. It feels like Plastic Man versus Wonder Woman isn't really even a fight. So it's like, what do you do? I don't know. But it also depends, what is Plastic Man's weapon? What does he choose to bring? I don't know. That's a hard one. I don't know who I think they're going to have win Lobo versus Plastic Man. I feel like they're going to have Plastic Man win just cause it's so silly, but I don't know, because Lobo's a lot of fun too. That's hard. I would have Lobo win personally. I think Lobo would win it, But for the lulz, I feel like Plastic Man might win. Swamp Thing versus Vixen. I think Swamp Thing takes this. Swamp Thing's so powerful. But also, I don't know, because they're on Apocalypse. I don't know how everything works with the green when he's on Apocalypse, because everything's like dead there. So I don't know how that works. So maybe Vixen will have a huge advantage. I don't know. I don't know how all that works with him being on Apocalypse, but I would take Swamp Thing, but who knows? And I don't know who they have win that, though. I don't know. I think Vixen might take it. I think Scott Snyder might have Vixen win it. Cyborg versus Batwoman. Cyborg's going to win this. I would have Cyborg win, and I think they're going to have Cyborg win. I think if Batwoman wins, it's kind of a disgrace. I think Cyborg would mop the floor with her. I don't think that's even close. Batman versus Star Sapphire. I personally think Star Sapphire would wipe the floor with Batman. I don't think he'd stand a chance. I think she'd easily beat him, but he's Batman, so obviously they're going to have him win. Scott Snyder, there's no way he's going to have Batman lose to Star Sapphire in the first round. Batman's just going to bullshit his way around and beat Star Sapphire because he's Batman. Sad, but that's what's going to happen. You know it. You know that's what's going to happen, especially because the next round is against the winner of Red Hood versus Damian, so obviously they want to have Batman fighting one of his Robins. Star Sapphire versus Red Hood or Damian isn't quite as interesting, so that's what's going to happen there. That's super obvious, but I personally think Star Sapphire should win. Red Hood versus Damian, I mean, I don't know who they're going to have win this one. This is tough. I have no idea who they're going to have win. I think Snyder's more of a fan of Damian, so I think Snyder might have Damian win. But personally, I think Red Hood should win. I feel like Red Hood would beat Damian, because if it was a full-grown adult Damian, probably give it to Damian. But Damian's still a kid. He's not full-grown yet. Red Hood's got the experience. I think Red Hood would beat him personally. Zatanna versus Barda is very interesting. I think Zatanna takes it. But who knows? Maybe Barda could brute force her way through, but I think Zatanna would win. And I also think they're... Well, I don't know, because it's Apocalypse, so Snyder might have Barda win because of her connection with Darkseid and everything. So he might have Barda win. I have no idea. That's hard. Because personally, I would have Zatanna win, but I think he might have Barda win. Harley Quinn versus Metamorpho. Metamorpho should beat her so easy. Again, one of the easiest fights of it. Harley Quinn should not be this great fighter or this great, she shouldn't be this great combatant that DC has made her. It's so stupid what they've turned Harley into. She should be a gymnast. Like that's her thing, is she's an acrobat. She can flip around and stuff. And that's the extent of her abilities. So she's a crazy girl with a bat that can flip around and do twirls. That's her thing. Instead they're like, but what? The Tom King was like, what if she could 1v3 the Trinity and easily win? What if she could beat the Tara to boost her gold? What if she was one of the best fighters in the D? It's so stupid. But she should easily beat Metamorpho. But again, she's one of the more popular characters at DC. Although not comics-wise, because her series sells terribly. It's just her merch sells, I guess, and she's recognizable. So I think they're gonna. Although I could see this be one of the funny matchups where Scott Snyder actually just has Metamorpho beats her in one panel. I could see Scott Snyder maybe doing that, because he talked about how this is supposed to be a fun event. This isn't supposed to be edgelord or super serious. It's supposed to be a fun event. So I could see Metamorpho maybe just beating her. That could possibly happen. But personally, I'd have Metamorpho beat her so easy, but I don't know. I feel like I'm leaning towards Snyder probably having Harley Quinn win. But that's it for the round one. I'm not going to get into all the round two stuff, because we don't know even who's going to be in round two. So it'll all be hypothetical there. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the matchups. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Who do you think wins on this bracket? We got a lot of matchups, but it looks pretty cool. We also got a preview for the first issue that looks interesting. And again, it lends more towards my theory that I think Superman's going to throw a fight, because in it, in the beginning, we see the Trinity, Clark, Bruce, and Diana are playing a board game, and Clark isn't having a good time, and Lois points out, Clark doesn't like a game unless no one has to lose, unless everyone can win. And so it's kind of foreshadowing to, in this big tournament, not everyone can win. There can only be one winner. And if Clark has to go, and be the only winner, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take that path. But also we see in the preview, we see that he's putting on his gauntlets. He's already kind of beaten and bloody. So it's is that beaten and bloody from a previous fight of this tournament? I'm guessing so. So obviously he makes it past the first round, it looks like. But at what point does he realize, yeah, I need to throw? Because I think he's going to throw. I 100% think that's going to happen. That's been my prediction for a while, and I believe that's going to happen. Especially because we see that in the Superman series during this time that's going to be tying in is Superman Lex learning about the Heart of Apocalypse and how it connects back to Krypton. So I could see both like Superman and Lex maybe like losing and being out of the tournament or something, and like trying to go around and try to figure out an outside way so they don't have to rely on this whole like KO BS and actually find another way to do it. I could see that happening. I could see Superman and Lex teaming up for that. Like that would be interesting. So yeah, I don't see, again, it's a Superman centric story, and the central thing for taking on Darkseid is very anti-Superman, so I don't think Superman would do it. The only way I could see Superman doing it is because he wouldn't want anyone else to bear that burden, to have to become that bad guy to do all this. That's the only thing that's the only way I could see him doing this, because it's like, I will bear the burden so others don't have to. But also maybe he just figures it out before the others have to get to the end of the tournament. Who knows? Who knows? But I am excited. It sounds interesting. Every time I hear Scott Snyder talk about it, I get a little more excited, and I hope it's good. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win this first part of the bracket? Do you have any predictions for the storyline? Are you excited? I want to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see y'all later.
Hey, skinny boy, saucy boy, I be running to the bank. Yeah, you know I hit the gas in the whip full tank. Riding past the ocean while I'm listening to Frank.